past year. And like that's really where I've been like leaning towards over the past few months, like I've always looking for I don't necessarily, so I'm Christian, but I don't subscribe to what a lot of the apostolics do, right? It's just not my thing. But we see, at least in the New Testament, right, how Peter was turning some of the Essenes into the Nazarenes, and that's what he even got accused of in court and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I would like to say I'm on my way to keeping Torah. I just crave that discipline. I'm a very disciplined dude. I wake up and run in the morning, but I don't see myself saying Hail Mary or anything like that. Torah is something I'll work on. I haven't ate pork in 8 weeks. I'm actually kind of going in on this thing. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about, because I feel like Messianic Judaism it just feels right to me. I keep looking into it, and it just feels right.
It doesn't matter what you call yourself. Just if you believe in God, keep his commandments. That's it. And I understand Christianity is a little more complicated than that. You don't have to believe that you're saved by keeping the commandments. The whole notion of being saved is not even a Torah notion. All right. You can feel that you're saved by grace through faith. That's fine. But the way you obey God is by keeping his commandments. It's fine. I mean, I don't think it's a conflict of interest. Just because the Torah doesn't mention heaven, it doesn't mention hell. It seems like it wants you to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do. Now, if you want to insert Christian theology into that, then, I mean, what's the issue? I don't see that it contradicts the Torah in any way from that perspective.
Yeah, it's just the Messianic Jews. I mean, according to history, all they did was just accept the Messiah, but that the books of the Bible, Hebrews, and all these other things, they accepted the Messiah, but they were still doing what they were doing in their synagogues and still doing the exact things, keeping Sabbath, all that other stuff. It's just that I've never seen myself as a Roman Catholic or an Orthodox, and my one contention with them is that I can talk to those guys and they all tell me the same thing. They're like, we're the one true church that God established. I'm like, you're saying that, you're saying that, you're saying that, and you're saying that. Antioch, Roman Catholic, Greek Orthodox, you guys are all saying the same thing. But it just doesn't logically check out to me. But
I will say,
oh yeah, go ahead.
I'm just gonna say right because I was Orthodox Christian, Eastern Orthodox to be exact, Roman Catholic, Eastern Catholic. I'm part of the Eastern, right? So I'm pretty much the Eastern Orthodox will say we're Orthodox that sold our souls to the world, but the Catholic Church is very charitable, and they say we're brothers in Christ, but we're separated brethren, meaning we're in schism with each other, but we're still a part of the one true body. Now, the Orthodox, I ain't going to say, the Orthodox will say they're the one true church, and they'll say that's Catholic.
Oh, man, you're breaking up so bad.
Yeah. I mean, Torah isn't necessarily so hard for me to keep, except I tend to be a little bit of a side hustle warrior on Saturday, so I'm going to have to adjust that.
That's fine, bro.
So,
I mean, as long as you could articulate where your values come from, that's almost good enough. As long as you know what you should be doing. That's the problem of most people. Only because something doesn't fit their lifestyle, they'll rewrite their religion and saying, that's not important, that's not important. It's so powerful to say, you know what, I know that's important, I'm just not that strong. All right, that's owning it.
I mean, I'm not willing. Yeah, I'm not willing to do that because here's the thing: what the Messianic Jews, what they subscribe to, is that they want to live like the Messiah did. So I feel like I'd be making excuses for myself by saying that, because I feel like if you say that, you're giving yourself wiggle. Because if I'm going to keep Torah, I might as well, go all the way. Don't go halfway. You know what I mean?
I hear you. Now, where do you live, Chris?
Houston, Texas. That point on planet Earth.
You run?
Yeah.
I'm also a runner.
Have you ran a marathon before?
Yes, I ran probably around, I think, a total of 3 full ones and probably 50 half ones. Hold on 1 second. Let me see if I can pull out my else here.
Yeah.
I heard it's addictive when you get to start running, long distance running. It becomes addictive.
I ran my first one in the Houston Marathon. I tried to go sub 3. I got 3:05, so I'm going to have to clean that up a little bit.
Is the natural high thing, is that true? Running for so long, you I don't know what they say. I've heard of it before, though.
I have one in here. This one is this is a 10K.
Oh, snap, okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I have 50 of them, but they're, let's see if I can carry this phone into my garage. I don't want people to think I'm lying.
We got to line this up, man. We're at this race, bro.
Check this out. all these medals. It's just there's some there that they're all medals. Yeah, I have tons of medals. I'm a runner. There's a motorcycle. This is like a Roach. Welcome.
So, Rabbi Asher, so, like, as I learn more about this, because it's been kind of a journey the past, like, few months, what other literature would you recommend to somebody that's, like, going from, like, Christian to, like, keeping Torah, the Messianic Jew route? Because I still believe in the same thing that Christians do. It's just that I feel more drawn that way. Like, any other literature you would recommend?
Wow, that's a good question. It depends. For people who are converting to Judaism, I encourage people to study Dennis Prager's book, the 9 questions people ask about Judaism. If not, then just master the 5 books of Moses. That's it. Go into the 5 books of Moses. When you're feeling down, you could read a book. You could read what's called Tehillim, the book of Psalms, that'll lift up your spirits. But the foundation of our religion is the 5 books of Moses. That's where all the laws, the individual moral training appear. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, me guiding you to any other book that's not the Torah is just
Yeah, no, that's fair.
introducing you to the fluff instead of the actual meat of it all. And just be a normal person, be decent, and yeah. I mean, just know that Jesus, this is what made him righteous, right? I mean, righteous means doing the right thing. And what's the right thing? It's keeping God's commandments, the do's and don'ts. So it's not.
That's
it's not
exactly
complicated.
what he said. And like, to me, Jesus will always be. To me personally, he'll always be Son of God, the Holy One mentioned in Proverbs 30 verses 3 and 4. But yeah, I'm just craving that. A lot of the Messianic Jews say they just want to live like Jesus, who kept the Sabbath. I mean, who kept the law perfectly, which I will not be able to do, by the way. But yeah, no, thanks for that.
Same here.
I don't know. For some reason, it sounds complicated, but I guess it's not that. I guess it's not that complicated.
Proverbs. Not that I'm trying to debate you or anything, but that portion in Proverbs, you said Proverbs chapter 30. I don't know how someone could read that and not see it as a question, and not necessarily a statement of trying to describe Jesus. Yeah, let's pull it up and just. I'm gonna read it.
It is a question.
Yeah. I mean, it seems to be a question without an answer, because the answer to the question is God. But I've heard a bunch of people say it. I'm like, can you see it the way I see it? It's just okay. So it's Proverbs chapter 30, right? I mean, it tells you from the beginning that it's the words of Agur, the son of Jakeh the burden, right? The man saith unto Ethiel, and Ukal, it says, surely I am brutish, unlike a man, and have not the understanding of a man. I have not learned wisdom, that I should have the knowledge of the Holy One. Who hath ascended up into heaven and descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fists? Who has bound the waters in his garments? Who has established all the ends of the earth? What's his name and what's his son's name, if thou knowest? So the way I read this is that he's trying to embellish God. He's basically saying, you think you're something, or you think you're something, but which one of you has ever done any of these things? And the answer is nobody, because only God is capable of doing these things. So that's how I read it. And when it says, what's his name and what's his son's name, it's basically saying, yeah, who's the guy who did this? And like, tell me what his son's name is. Right? I mean, it seems like a poetic way of like, bring me some evidence. So I don't know why the average person reads this like this is telling me that God has a son, and this is talking about God. It just seems like what the literal reading is how I read it, that it's like, who can do all this but God, right? Not that I'm giving you the hint or the answer to a riddle that God has a son.
Yeah, to be fair, one that isn't like the only scripture in the Old Testament, I think is a strong one. But I think what a lot of Christians do is that they take these prophecies, for example, Book of Isaiah, that passage in Proverbs, and see if it matches to a Jesus. To a me, when Jesus was talking about in the book of John, like, I must leave so the helper can go. He was talking about the Holy Spirit, but he was talking about ascending back up to heaven. And, to me, it just logically makes sense. But, to some people, it doesn't. It's okay.
No, I'm just curious because I've heard many people. I heard this guy, like Sam Shimoni, like uses like on a Jewish guy on his like one of his videos. It wasn't a live that I saw, and then like the Jewish guy couldn't respond. I'm like, it's clearly what's called a rhetorical question. The person asking the question already knows the answer, and he's basically saying, "Who do you know who's able to do all these things?" The answer is nobody but God. But I don't know why most people don't see it like that. But I see it.
It's kind of hard to argue it when you're on the spot like that. Somebody just pulls it up, and then you're expected to answer right then and there.
Man, Rabbi Asher got to get on that debate with Sam Shamoon, bro. That would be the most.
Oh, I'm trying.
Sam Shamoon is not charitable. He's not charitable.
Yeah, he does get a little bit vulgar when things go south, bro. I ain't gonna lie about it.
That's one thing religious people shouldn't do. I mean, I think it hurts the religion whenever people start cursing and insulting people's mother. It's like we're supposed to be an example to other people. And trust me, I'm not a saint, okay? But when I'm teaching religion, I'm teaching religion. Like everything else, I could be stealing your car, or, I don't know, like all of the above. But don't mix.
I think it's just being a Syrian.
Well, the problem with Sam is that he has a large social media following, and he's also Catholic. Christians in the West have a deep dislike for Catholics, so he only feeds to that stereotype. Honestly, he's a great debater. He doesn't need to throw in the ad homs. That's really not that necessary. He's actually really good.
I mean, who started this? I mean, I think it's the Black Hebrews that started this. The Black Hebrews started the whole cursing and religion thing, right?
I'm a quarter Chaldean, which is Assyrian, and trust me, they still have Assyrian blood, the Chaldean blood.
Actually, do you know who the Black Hebrew Israelites learned from that are equally as vulgar? Yeah, people that subscribe to Nation of Islam.
Ah, that's also true.
Yeah.
That's also true. The Farrakhan's. Welcome, Cool Dog. Cool Dog? Oh, you know what? He's there. Oh, yeah, he is.
Yeah, the Black Hebrew Israelites, I like to show them Jeremiah 3. To mess with them.
They're gonna deny it though every single time. Like, it's funny. They're like little race theory that they have. They're like each one of the Israelites that were important in the Bible were black. I'm like, hold on. Songs of Solomon 5:10. What did his wife say he was? He was white and ruddy. So that means the Israelites were a mixed multitude of skin colors. So that goes off. Yeah, those guys are just stubborn, man.
Yeah. I became religious under different auspices. I never tried to be like a thuggy religious person. I mean, I was a thug first, and then I kind of came to God, and I'm like, I want to do as much good as I did bad. These guys never do away with their thuggery, and they sort of combine religion with it, right? It just doesn't, and mind you, I wasn't born Jewish. Like maybe it's because I was sensitized by Jesus that now I'm able to be an ethical monotheist. But yeah, I don't appreciate people acting tough at the expense of the Bible and at the expense of God, because that's all they care about. I mean, I guess they assume that chicks like people who yell and who insult other guys because it seems manly. But it's essentially at the expense of atheists ever finding us sophisticated, right? How's an atheist, an inquisitive college kid, ever going to take anything religious people say seriously when religious people curse as much as they do? Right, and it just frustrates me.
Yeah, we're already on a short leash because atheists think all of our morals, essentially come from the books we read. So we're already on a short leash on that one. But Rabbi Ash, I gotta bounce. But I'll probably be hitting your DMs up more when I'm making this slow switch to keeping Torah.
Do it,
and
bro. You're on the right path.
Challenge.
Go for it.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. And plus, I would love to challenge you to a foot race any day, baby.
Oh, well, I'm a long distance runner. I'm not a sprinter.
Yeah, so my first marathon was 3:05, so I'm going to try and hit that sub 3. But yeah, I trained really hard for it because I used to be a bodybuilder. I wanted to try something new, but not getting those 5 minutes was an eternity, and I felt really bad about myself for the next 2 weeks after, because I'm like, I got to run a whole 26 miles again.
You ran a marathon in 3 hours and 5 minutes?
I had a really good coach, and I gave myself a year. I gave myself a year to train for it because I knew I had a good base. So
that must be an 8 minute, 7 minute pace mile.
It was about 7. Let's see. Actually, I got my Garmin. 7:09.
That's crazy.
Minute per mile pace.
No, that's hardcore. I do half marathons in like in a 10 and a half minute or like 11-minute mile, which comes out to 2 hours and like 20 minutes for a half marathon, which is 13 miles. Right? A full marathon, I mean, that's like, you qualify for the Boston Marathon with that, with those numbers.
No, I don't actually. The bar keeps getting pushed back. In order for me to do that, that's an eternity away. I would have to run a 2:53, and I am not trying. Once I go sub 3, I'm done forever.
All right.
Yeah, boss, have a good one, brother.
All right, bro. Take it easy. Cool Dog, come up, Cool Dog. I'm on YouTube and like in Facebook, people, in case you see me yelling at the screen. You're muted, by the way. Cool Dog. Anyways, guys, like the show, follow the hosts. I was in a live today, a Jewish live. There aren't too many Jewish lives on TikTok that don't talk about Israel, Palestine. And we had a few different discussions. There's a new trend happening in the Jewish world. The problem with social media, and I'm a social media rabbi. I mean, I have smicha. I used to be the assistant rabbi of Young Israel of Richmond. But, I mean, I predominantly teach online. But the problem is with people calling themselves Jewish on social media is that they'll speak in the name of Judaism and they don't know what the heck they're talking about. Okay, there's this new trend of basically saying that there's no difference between a Reformed Jew and an Orthodox Jew, to the point that it's okay for Orthodox Jews to marry Reformed Jews. And this was uttered by Mr. Litvin. It was uttered by Reuven. And I'm like, and people didn't really disagree. And I'm like, what is this? You know, it's always been understood that religious people should marry other religious people. If you're Orthodox, you should marry Orthodox. If you're Christian, you should marry another Christian, right? And what did Paul say? Don't be unequally yoked. This is like common sense. Heck, in my yeshiva, they always told us to marry a girl who's firmer than you are. Like more religious. It was never understood that a person who's not religious should marry someone who's religious just because they're Jewish. This is something that's spewed by, it's a shame how modern day Zionism has perverted Judaism. And I support Israel, and we have to call things what they are. Just for the sake of achdus, of saying that we're united, like under the banner of Israel, we in some way put down the standards of Torah and in some way say that an atheist is my brother. Like, who started this talk? Orthodox rabbis never spoke like that. A religious person with a Jewish mother has nothing religiously in common with an atheist with a Jewish mother. Nothing. Okay? Maybe they look the same. Maybe they speak with the same accent, right? Maybe they may share DNA. But regarding Judaism and Jewishness, nothing in common. Now, you can be an atheist and support Israel. You could be a religious Jew and support Israel. Fine. That could be what you have in common, but the state of Israel has nothing to do with Judaism. And it's not, I get it that people will say silly things in this platform. The problem is when they're confronted, other people stay quiet, like it's okay, like it's normal. Coño, what's up with the noise, Caribeño?
Oh, I'm sorry, but what about those couples that married that were initially of the same faith, but one
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hold on.
chose to go for a different path?
Yeah, so that is what I call a tragedy. I mean, I have a video on TikTok and on YouTube now called like "Keep Your Girl" like off of social media. There's so many women. I mean, specifically, women, because I hold men to a higher standard that they typically don't reach. But the idea that you were a Christian or you were an Orthodox Jew, and then your wife spends all day on TikTok and now tells you that she's converting to Islam, that happens a lot. That behooves you to be on your A game when it comes to religion. You have to. If you say that you're not religiously inclined and you have no interest in religion, all you're saying is that other people are going to be instructing your family members. Okay? If you as a man are not going to lead, someone else is going to fill those shoes, and then when your wife is telling you, I'm converting to Christianity, Islam, or I'm going to be Puerto Rican, okay, there's nothing you can say about it, because by that time it's too late. Even if you're not interested in religion.
What if it's the other way around?
What do you mean? The guy leaves?
For example, in my case, right? I'm using my case as an example. When we first met, I was of the Christian faith, and she also. But when I came to, I ended up, in a situation where I was exposed to Judaism, and I started studying it and learning it, and started seeing the real words for what they were in Torah. And that led me to start backing off of the whole Jesus.
No, I get it. Here, listen.
But now it's in conflict because
there's no conflict, listen, or there shouldn't be a conflict. You as a man are supposed to be a superhero to your wife. If your wife respects you, okay, she will follow after you. If she remains a Christian after you decided to become Jewish, it means that she never viewed you as her leader spiritually. She was doing her thing. I mean, we see this in the Jewish world. Girls are encouraged to have their own rebbeim, right? Like now, the husband has a Rebbe and the wife has a Rebbe. I mean, this is the result of the Baal Tshuva movement, by the way, because the husband's supposed to be the Rebbe to the wife. Fine. So that means that she understood religion detached from you, and you essentially weren't leading her in her mind. That's why when you decided to become X, she's remaining Y. You get it?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what can I say, bro? I mean,
Well, I mean, I didn't see it in that light. So you shed light in that, from your perspective. The way I saw it is that she grew up in a Christian home where her father was a reverend or a pastor for so many years that, this is all she knew, and anything outside of that was not even considered.
I know. It's a problem. I mean, marriage nowadays, the idea that, women view their spouses like competitors. It's hard to find a woman who's going to fully submit. And this may sound misogynist, but this is the way marriages are supposed to function like this. The woman follows the man in every aspect in life. Now, clearly, once the woman feels that she can't follow that man anymore because, for many reasons, but what if he starts doing drugs? If he becomes an alcoholic, then that's when she has to in some way step away and say, you know what, I don't trust you to lead me or my children anymore. The idea that they're going to remain in that new relationship, competing on who's going to influence the children more, it's a problem. This is why I think it's destructive when any rabbi on TikTok or anyone who calls themselves a rabbi on TikTok tells people that it's fine for a secular Jew to marry a religious Jew. Because when you're playing with children and the lives of children, right? I'm sure Moshe here has heard the stories of women like cutting up the tefillin of the men. They're fighting for the mind of the child. Oh, yeah, but my rabbi on TikTok said it's okay, for an Orthodox Jew to marry a Reformed Jew. These people must be, do you know how immature? Immature being that they lack life experience for someone to make such a statement, that a religious Jew should marry essentially a left-wing atheistical Jew just because they happen to be Jewish. It's the worst advice I've ever heard. And then people stay quiet like, yeah, no, that makes sense. We're both Jewish. Being Jewish, i.e. having a Jewish mother, doesn't unite you with anyone around you, okay? Only because you happen to have, relatives in common. That's not enough for you to call an atheistical Jewish person your brother or your sister. That's nonsense. Religious people have never spoken like this in the Jewish world. Only after 1948, once they bought into the whole Zionist agenda, by the way. And I support Israel. Me saying I support Israel is damage control, for people to think that Asher is in some way trying to bash Israel. I'm saying that the combination of Zionism with Judaism has corrupted the Jewish family because of this. Because we have left-wing Jews who probably would have become Christian by now or Muslim, still identifying as Jewish because what solidifies their Jewishness is Zionism. It's not Torah anymore, right? I mean, just like some people solidify their Jewishness on the fact that they don't believe in Jesus. Anyways, Mosh, what do you think?
I was going to say that a woman is not going to follow you out of submission. She will follow you if you are a real leader. I mean, if you don't show leadership, there is no woman that is going to follow you. Your wife is not going to follow you because you're weak. I mean, you need to show real leadership. Now, values at least need to be the same. This thing of like, I'm going to be a Reconstructionist Jew and I'm an Orthodox Jew marrying a Reconstructionist Jew, that's ridiculous. I mean, values at least needs to be the same. I mean, yeah.
So it's yeah. Go ahead.
I can agree to a certain extent, but you know, the way I see it, so to this day, my wife follows me and my leadership. So I don't. My leadership is not questioned. Is not what's in question, right? When it comes to everything else, it's just the fact that to her, letting go of something to me is an indoctrination. You know, letting go of something you've been indoctrinated is so scary. That's one aspect or one area in life that she is scared to follow me in. She will blindly follow me in anything and everything else except for that.
I'm not telling people to get divorced, by the way, okay? But I'm saying what's an idyllic relationship? And that idyllic relationship, I mean, people who grew up where I grew up know the term, ride or die. That's it. Now, this notion that she has to build respect for you, that's a first world problem. In the old days, once a woman got married, I mean, assuming that you were the first guy she ever knew and you both got married to at such a young age, it was already built into her philosophy that the man who I marry will be my leader, right or wrong. That's just the way it is. It's the downside. Truth be told, this sounds weird, okay, but it's the problem of over-educating your daughters. It makes them almost unmarriageable, unfortunately. I mean, this is just the way it is, you know, because then they feel like that a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle. And this is why we have a shidduch crisis nowadays in the Jewish world. The shidduch crisis is that
you have this, you have this shidduch crisis right now.
Yeah.
Because of this.
Yeah, exactly. This is what people don't want to confront. That we want to be very metropolitan, cosmopolitan, you know, I mean, teach women Gemara. I mean, like, have your daughter get a PhD. However, they believe in hypergamy intrinsically, meaning they want a man to admire. They seek a man who's smarter than they are, makes more money than they do. But when they're already on the top of the food chain academically, who is there to date? No one, you know, like all because most guys that they would be interested in are probably already married. However, the average guy would have no issue marrying a girl who works in a fast food place. I mean, it's not important to them. That means girls who are less educated are easier to match up in a whole shidduch dating scene. Okay, but then girls that every woman ultimately wants a man to admire, and every man wants a woman to admire him. That is the match. That is the ideal situation, you know. But whatever, you know, it's when Haredim would argue not to educate girls, they were arguing for a reason. It wasn't because of the patriarchy. It's because they know it's hard to marry off a daughter who's very opinionated, you know, like who feels that she's smarter than every guy around her. This is a status quo. But anyways, watch people say that what I'm saying is not Judaism. By the way, I mean, even the Rambam says, I mean, don't over. It's part of Orthodox Judaism, by the way, you know, not to overly educate your daughter. Right? I mean, as much as people disagree and make it sound like, the Rambam was like a Richard Dawkins of the day or something. Oh, very progressive. It's not true. It's not true. But of course, people will say I'm lying, but this is my opinions on this show. Like, even though I, in terms of how I may look, am not very Haredi, this is a traditional Haredi approach. The traditional Haredi approach. Do you have numbers? Do you have statistics, Usher? No, I don't have numbers and statistics, but anyone who's lived in the from world knows that this is how it is. Anyways.
Hi, Rabbi. How are you?
Привет, товарищ.
By the way, did you catch that Tom Brady roast on Sunday night?
No.
Are you familiar with roast?
Yes, I am familiar with the roast.
It was just funny. It has something to do with Vladimir Putin. There was a joke there. But question.
Russia has not changed. I mean, I think people should claim me for prophethood. Like I support Russia over the Ukraine, and it's not. It's not such a unheard of position, but it is unheard of online for some reason. All the old Ukrainians agree. It's true. This is a weird war. Anyways, go ahead.
Have you ever been to Russia?
Yes. I was flying to Israel once, and there was this airline called Trans-Aero that was like, the airline was like the crappiest airline, but it had the hottest stewardesses. This is a Russian airline, right? And it stopped in Moscow for like 5 hours, and I was stuck at the airport in Moscow. So that was, the extent of my time in Russia.
In the airport.
Yes, in the airport.
All right.
Like I said, my wife is Russian, so.
Right. Let me ask you something. How in the Jewish world, how is Rashi on a scale of 1 to 10? How serious are they? Do Jews take his commentaries?
10.
Rashi.
10. There is no Chumash you can buy nowadays that doesn't have Rashi in it.
Is it true then that he mentioned that that Rebecca was married off at the age of 3?
Or 9? Yeah, there's two opinions. There's one that she's 3, and one she's 9. Hypothetically, and this is me, someone's going to be like, Asher, you're giving them ammunition. First we tell the truth, then we give our opinion, right? Moshe, what do you think I'm going to say about this?
About what?
About
Sorry,
Rebecca.
Now remember, a Muslim, an imam, who is using this against, I guess, against his Muhammad marrying the 9-year-old, and he's like, well, guess what? Guess who else did it?
That's right. Well, no, the Chumash doesn't say. The Torah doesn't say.
Rashi,
yeah.
I'm gonna say that Rashi that she was married like at 20 or something like that.
No.
Oh.
That Rivka was 3 or 9. There's two opinions. One that she's 3 and one that she's 9.
Yeah, but Rashi remember when Rashi, there's another Rashi, like nobody pays attention to that Rashi. When Rivka is, when Rivka tell Yitzhak to go and daven whatever, because she cannot get pregnant, like if you make the calculations, by then she's already 20. That's what the Rashi says.
Okay, yeah, no, Rashi's not. Yeah, he contradicts himself. All Rashi's doing is bringing down Midrashim. He's not giving his personal opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
no, he doesn't have an opinion.
What he's saying is that there are some legends that teach this and some legends that teach that. According to halakha, could you do kedushin? Essentially, was it kedushin or nesuin with a 3-year-old? Technically, yes. The Rambam speaks against it, right? But there just isn't a prohibition on it. The truth be told, it would be against our self-interest, because a woman who would get pregnant, or a girl who would get pregnant at such an age, I'm not saying 3, I don't even think that's possible, but even at the age of 11, the life of that baby would be in such jeopardy, including the wife or the mother, that it wouldn't be beneficial for anyone for that to happen. Nor is there.
I thought they can get pregnant only after they menstruate, no? The first.
Yes. So yes, the age of 12, that is a reality. Okay, 13, 12 for sure. And it's not really 12. According to halakha, it's signs of puberty. And
so how do we answer back to this imam? How do we
don't.
Do we agree with it? Do we disagree with it?
Okay. I don't know what's true and what's not regarding what Muslims actually do, because there's so much misinformation going around that I don't know who's lying and who's not. If it's true that they're actively marrying young girls at that age, then it's for sure problematic. We've never done it in our history, right? I mean, although there may be a legend, Jews know that's wrong. I mean, even the Rambam spoke against it, right? I mean, that yes, there's two parts of marriage. So the first part could be done with an infant, right? Meaning that you could be betrothed to an infant, but you can't consummate the marriage till the girl's mature.
Well, what I'm trying to say is that it's not the legality of it. I want to know whether or not it's true.
No, but it's a midrash. I mean, for sure, it's not
a midrash. What is a midrash?
It's a legend. It's I don't believe midrashim are true. It's just they're this is the problem.
So this is Isaac marrying Rebecca.
Mm.
And in the Torah and in other Gemara, there's no indication of when this marriage occurred, or
correct. There's no indication that people got married at that age.
So why would Rashi mention that age?
Down. I mean, it's just a legend. There's tons of legends that contradict themselves that I think are wacky.
Right, let me
Where does Rashi get his opinions of these things before writing them down?
No, like Agadot, which is the same thing as Midrashim, have been floating around the Jewish people. I mean, from the beginning. I mean, they were just tales that were eventually written down. This is why I don't like Rashi. Okay, I don't like his commentary. It says in the beginning.
Then why does he get a 10 in the Jewish world?
I don't know, bro. I don't know why. Okay, his grandson.
Let me add something. Asher. Here. People think that Rashi is some sort of a book. Now, what Rashi did is he just was making notes for himself on his own Chumash. Those notes that we have right now as Rashi were Rashi notes for himself. He was just adding notes to the margin from the Midrash, from his knowledge of the Midrash. Every Midrashim, like Midrash Ravat and Chuma, different Midrashim, even Midrashim that we don't have nowadays. Now, what is the authority of Rashi from where it comes? Because Rashi also makes a commentary in the Talmud, and that's why he gains his I don't know, fame. Yeah. And now everybody is like, yeah, because one of the big guys, like Rishonim, whatever you want to call him.
Yeah, the problem is
that's why. But actually,
most people who read Rashi don't understand what you and I just said. They don't even know what a medrash is. You know, Mr. Litvin, when teaching Rashi, will whenever say this is just a medrash, they'll believe that Rashi is Torah Shabbal Peh. I mean, I've heard these people say it.
Yeah.
You
exactly.
know,
yeah.
So that's a huge problem. First of all, Rashi's grandson, in his introduction to his commentary to the Torah, the Rashbam, says that his grandfather Rashi failed in his mission because he said that Rashi's goal was to write a commentary to the Torah on a Pashat level. And anyone who reads Rashi straight through knows that it's not a literal, commentary, right? So the Rashbam actually has probably the most literal philosophical commentary to the Torah that exists, and it's a grandson of Rashi. And he said that he wanted to finish his grandfather's work. Hold on one second, guys. I may have to get this phone call. Hold on one second. Hello? Hold on one second. Hello? Hey, what's up, man? Thanks. I got the money. Thanks. I mean, I really appreciate it. Thank you. I mean, just limits was. No, I really appreciate it, bro. Thanks, bro. No, Tisk limits was. Thank you. All right, bro. Yeah. All right, bro. Take it easy. Yeah, good job. All right, sorry. I mean, that was a very important phone call.
All right, like and share. And
is that Trump?
Yeah, no, that's my friend.
Sure, you're muted.
Trump?
Am I muted? No, hold on.
No, you're not.
Can you hear me?
You're good.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sorry. Some money. It's good. All right. What was I saying? Yeah. So I think it's healthy to teach Judaism like this. We have to understand that the Rambam's Chumash didn't have Rashi in it. Rashi's Chumash, well, I mean, I guess according to Moshe, also had Rashi in it because he was writing notes in it. It's a shame that you can't find a Chumash nowadays without Onkelos or without Rashi. Onkelos I get because like there's a halacha to, study the parsha twice in Hebrew when it's once in Aramaic, I think, or vice versa. But Rashi, they act like there's no other commentary but Rashi. By the simple fact that we have more than one commentary means that Rashi could be wrong about things, or there could be different opinions. You could hold like the Ramban, you could hold like the Ibn Ezra. You don't always have to hold like Rashi. It shows that the Ashkenazim won the culture war. Whenever you see a Sephardi Jew in Israel or a Mizrahi Jew in Israel wearing a black hat, that has told you that Ashkenazim have won the Jewish cultural war. And being that even every Sephardi Chumash has Rashi within it, it shows who calls the shots. Even though there's more Sephardim, and when I say Sephardi,
when you see a Sephardi wearing tzitzits, it's already talis cotton, like it's already.
I mean, the Arizal was Sephardi, but his one of his parents was actually Ashkenazi. I mean, just because I mentioned last time that the Arizal invented the talis katan. Not that pants existed at that time. A talis katan for him was just wearing two pair of tzitziot. One was the actual beged, right? Because back then clothing had four corners, and then he had an extra one. Like the beged, he called it the talis for your goof, and then the war. No. The beged on the outside, like he called it the talit for your goof, for your body, and then the other one he called it the talit for your neshama. And then since then, after we introduced pants, we have Chabad now saying to put the tassels through the belts, and all these things came up later. But yeah, I know Sephardim tuck their tzitziot in, and Ashkenazim don't. Where's that from?
That's the main reason, because it was not part of the beged of the Sephardim, so just took it in just to
Yeah. Also, Sephardim typically use wool, while Ashkenazim could use all of the above, at least according to Rav Moshe, maybe Rav Moshe Feinstein. Yeah, because there's an argument like if a talis katan could be made of anything other than wool. So it's for sure, from a Torah perspective, it's wool, but they'll say the Rabbanan could be anything. Welcome, Better Mental something.
Betterment Life Coaching. The real question, Rav, is do you know how to wash the tzitzit? Because I just recently learned the right way.
So there's little pockets, typically in the good ones, let's say, where you could tuck like the tassels in, so they don't get tangled. Another way is that you could put it in like a pillowcase. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what hints do you have?
Well, it kind of depends. So I'm, today years old when I went down to the local store, and apparently they sell these little tzitzit wrappy plastic deals, and you wrap all the tzitzit together in the it looks like a plastic blue egg.
Oh, the blue one.
Put the cover over it, and then you can wash the tzitzit, but only on cold and never put in the dryer. Apparently, I've done this completely wrong, and that's why all my kids' tzitzit are in a giant knot all the time.
Yeah, no, my son's in Lubavitch, and I could guarantee that my wife has destroyed his tzitzit. But for kids, it doesn't, he's 11, so he's not tired anyway.
He's 4. I really don't care, but it's good to know for the future.
Yeah. So in terms of a talis gadol, at least in South Florida, because I live in a very Jewish community, most dry cleaners wash them for free.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah, but I think it's a common thing all over America. If you go to a dry cleaner, that they wash these things because they're religious articles for free. Most people don't put a talis gadol in a washer.
What part of South Florida do you live in?
I'm in Hollywood.
Oh, that's right, Moish. That's the one. Yep, he just showed the picture. What part of South Florida are you in?
Hollywood.
In where?
Hollywood.
Okay, I only asked because I have a friend, Dina, who left Florida and moved up here to Cleveland, and she talks about South Florida all the time.
Is that where you're at? Cleveland Heights?
Cleveland, yep.
Okay.
Correct.
That's it. We're talking about Eliezer Silver, right? I think I don't know if you know. No, Cleveland. I mean, Cleveland used to be a very, very frum community in the 50s. They had all the big yeshivas there, and then they moved from Cleveland over to New York. Who was it? I'm trying to think. Yeah, there's a lot.
It's starting to grow a lot again. It's starting to grow a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really thinking about it.
Cleveland Heights is the same as Beechwood.
No, so Beechwood, so like the whole thing is like a rectangle, like the whole Juberhood in Cleveland, in eastern side of Cleveland,
Right.
it's like a rectangle. So on the top, this is mirrored, whatever, but like Cleveland Heights is on the far west edge of the rectangle, and then Tzad Yamin on the bottom right is Beechwood, and
That's
so
where the Green Road is, right?
yeah, Green Road, Green Road is the divider, so it goes Cleveland Heights, University Heights,
Right.
Beechwood. So Green Road is the dividing road between University Heights and Beechwood. And Beechwood is more Maddox. And then University Heights is more like a mix of like super frum and then like meh. And then Cleveland Heights is like super frum.
Right.
But it's also a socioeconomic divide as well.
Are you like a Balas Tshuva?
I totally am.
Okay. All right. Now I was going to
So
ask you
I
some
fully
questions.
disclose. I have no idea what I'm doing. So
No, that's fine. It's fine. I mean, how'd you? Who carved you? Was it like Chabad or what?
of course it was Chabad. No, it wasn't directly Chabad. Although I am very Hasidish leaning. My story is long and crazy and complicated, but the very, very short version is that when I blew up my life in 2014 and I left an abusive marriage and I had to start over, I was searching for quite a while. And the only place that felt safe for me to take my children was the Chabad house in Gilbert, Arizona. I don't know if you know anything about Arizona. But shout out to Rabbi Shimi Ash and his amazing wife, Javi, and they would take me in, me and my boys, and just give us tea and feed us and do activities with us when I had nowhere else to go. And I love them very much. And years later, I started to come back to Judaism through the renewal movement because I'm a giant hippie, like tree hugging, like total hippie. And so I started with the renewal movement.
Right? I mean, like Solomon Shlomi Schechter from Colorado.
Yes, absolutely, that guy.
Yeah, he passed away.
Literally, like davening in the forest, barefoot, sitting on the ground, like that. And when I discovered that Judaism has this feminine concept, Chinah, I was blown away. It's funny, I was actually doing a video about it a couple of days ago about how in the house of my identity as a Jew, I had basically learned about all of these different components of Jewish femininity that I didn't know were even a thing. Because my parents were both very Chiloni and Israeli and Zionist, but not religious at all. My father is a Holocaust survivor, so I didn't grow up with any religion. And when I learned that everything that they had told me about religious Judaism was basically bull, I realized that's not true. And it turns out women are actually loved and respected. And I was pissed because I felt like I had entered into the house of my identity and I had ripped off the wallpaper and found this beautiful mosaic underneath. And it caused me to start wanting to daven. And then I started finding music that spoke to me. And I was able to start connecting really deeply through this concept of Shekhinah. And eventually I started to just go to more and more Chabad events. And Chabad has consistently been the only positive Jewish organization that I've encountered over the last 10 years of my life. Every other group, no offense to any of y'all, but the Reform folks, the conservative folks, the renewal folks, they have all fallen away. And Torah observant Judaism through Chabad has basically just been the only one that's been consistently loving and accepting. And I'm, I was a hot mess express. So I'm really thrilled that I was able to do that because now I'm able, we keep kosher, we keep Shabbat, we send our kids to Jewish school, like the whole deal. So it's a it's a journey.
Okay, well, welcome back, and I have my kids in Lubavitch here in LEC, which is Lubavitch Educational Center. I'm not Chabad. There's some things I don't like about Chabad. There's a lot of things I like about Chabad, but that's like every group, That's like every group.
For sure.
Yeah.
You can't like 100% of everything. It's impossible. We're Jewish.
Right.
We're gonna find something to complain about.
Yeah, unless you're in a
now,
cult.
Why is Lubavitch? I mean, I'm just learning. Like Lubavitch Chabad is not exactly the same as like
Correct.
all Chabad.
Yeah, so
Is
I
that
make
right?
the distinction like this. I think that Chabad is to Lubavitch what Nanach is to Breslov. So
Wait. Say that slowly.
you heard of Nanachs? So Nanachs are like the Breslover Hasidim that dance on top of vans with the white, kippot, and they throw out,
With the white kippot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yes. Okay. They're called I'm sorry. They're called what?
Yeah, Nanachs, because they constantly yell like Nana Nachman Meuman. But there was this guy named Rabbi Israel Desser who said that he found a letter from Rabbi Nachman that said that if you constantly say Nana Nachman Meuman, like you activate certain powers, like good things will happen. So he gave birth to this movement that they call Nanachs. So in Israel, it's spray painted all over the place. These guys, they smoke a lot of weed, they dance on top of cars, and they're very happy. And they're always giving you books like literature. However, Breslover Hasidim typically don't act like this, right? They're very strict, and they're Hasidish. They're not, just like Chabad is to Lubavitch. Chabad as it exists today, it was really founded by the last Lubavitch Rebbe. Like this effort to reach out to all of humanity, mitzvah tanks, putting tefillin, like on strangers in the street. Giving out Shabbos candles. That's Chabad.
Yeah.
But Lubavitch has a long history. It's actually one of the oldest, if not the oldest, Hasidic movement still functioning. Even though like Satmar and Bobov.
Yeah, from the 1800s.
Yeah, they were the students of the Maggid of Bezrich. It goes way back. While groups like Satmar and Bobov will say that Chabad is not really Hasidic just because they're so metropolitan. They're so, they're in the modern world.
They're in the world.
Yeah, like Shmuley Boteach, let's say, is what Hasidim don't like to see, and he's still a Hasid. There's only three. It's interesting. There's only 3 Jews that lost their status as a shaliach. Like one of them was Shlomo Karbach. Well, the other one
I get.
Yeah, the other one was the one that we just spoke about, which is Solomon Schechter Shlomi and Shlomo Karbach. Shlomo
You
Karbach.
said Karbach.
What?
No, you said 2 so far.
No, there's Solomon Schechter Shlomi, Shmuley Boteach, and Shlomo Karbach.
There we go.
Right
now, what is the deal with Boteach? I have been seeing all of these sensationalist, angry, hellfire, fire and brimstone videos about him from some guy named Rav Reuben something.
Oh, Yaron Reuven.
What is the drama?
All right, so this guy Yaron Reuven is very angry and he attacks me also. And I'm not the biggest fan of Shmuley Boteach, but for sure he's an amazing man. Okay. He's done a lot for the Jewish world.
This Reuven guy is hilarious. He's like a fire and brimstone pulpit.
Yeah, they call him
minister.
Yeah, well, they call him the Taliban Rebbe. This is what because he sounds like he's a student of Rabbi Mizrahi. Not Rabbi Mizrahi. At least is entertaining. He tells stories and this and that. This guy just picked up every negative aspect of Rabbi Mizrahi, and he just attacks everyone who disagrees. He attacks Dennis Prager. He attacked Jonathan Sachs, right? Who's not with us anymore, by the way. So the problem.
No, you go straight to hell if you insult Rabbi Sachs. That's all. Just telling you, that's just a thing.
Yeah. So the problem that Shmuley Boteach did was that he got involved in politics, right? I don't think that's a problem, but for the rest of the world is, So when he was saying something, it's almost like if Judaism was saying it. So he came out against the picture I have on my live there, which is Candace Owens. And basically attacked her and said that he was going to bankrupt her because they had a dialogue on TikTok, and then she said something that Kanye said and whatever. So the conservative side that now I'm a conservative, i.e., politically conservative American. The conservative Americans are in some way becoming less supportive of Israel. And this is, it's a huge shame, by the way. Like, I don't identify as a Zionist, but I support Israel fully from a secular perspective, not a religious perspective. So because of that, also Ben Shapiro, has been dragged through the mud by the same people who are dragging Shmuel Boteach by the mud. And then Shmuel Boteach, the idea, okay.
Isn't he the one that wrote Kosher Sex, and he was on that TV show, like helping families
Shalom in the
with
Home.
their Shalom Bite?
Yeah, it's called Shalom in the Home, and it was Oprah Winfrey that made him famous. Yeah, and he was Michael Jackson's rabbi. So when you put yourself in such a spotlight, there's no way that you're not going to get attacked, right? The nail that sticks out, gets hammered. The problem is he's a little audacious. The idea that one's going to open up a sex shop with your daughter, that may not be something that you want to say so matter-of-factly and not expect to catch some weird feedback because of. I don't think there's anything halachically he's not doing anything wrong, right? Heck, tonight's Friday night, it's mitzvah night for anyone who keeps Shabbos. However, people view that as weird, and they think that in terms of optics, right, it's something that his enemies could throw around and say that he's in some way perverted in a way. So that, and attacking Candace Owens and basically saying that if you disagree with Israel, then you're an anti-Semite, has got a lot of people dragging his name in the mud, right? I don't agree with him, but I'm not going to deny that he's a good person and he's a supporter of things I hold dear, my values. And I think there should be less infighting in the conservative world.
I think there should be less infighting, period.
Oh, yeah. Well, that we should, there has to be a separation with people who don't spread our values. People who attack our values, we should fight against them, right? The H group, whoever. But someone who's clearly a decent individual, religious guy, he should also kind of mind his tongue when he attacks other people, because he's known for dragging other conservatives in the mud, so they're in some way fighting back. And that's the whole story. What are you going to do?
That's not a good look.
So
a good look.
He was the Chabad rabbi in Oxford. That was his first claim to fame. He's written a lot of books. And although he's on the right, he's kind of like, he's not as right-wing as I would want him to be. I constantly hear him debate Dennis Prager, and it's just like, it's like oil and water. Right? I align more.
So he's not as right-wing as you want him to be.
Right, correct.
Okay, so then maybe I can ask you your thoughts on it, because again, I'm Bal Tshuva. I don't know anything. I'm making it up as I go. And everything I know I learned from Chabad. No, I'm kidding. Okay. But my question to you is, well, two parts. So number one, how far right is the level of, right that you are good with? And then secondly, no, I'll leave that second question out. How right is right?
Okay.
For you.
So Chabad, for example, they're the biggest Trump supporters, right? Along like the Mishachis flag, where they typically have like banners of Trump. Just so you know that traditionally Chabad, they're extremely on the right. Extremely on the right. Now, what's extreme? They're to the point that sometimes people confuse them with non-Jewish people, and they'll call them like white supremacists. So I support Trump, right? I don't think that you have to be on the right to be a decent individual. I just think that the Republican Party better encompasses my values than the Democrat Party. That's pretty much it. The vast majority of Jewish people are Democrats. 80% of them voted for Hillary Clinton, voted for Barack Obama. It may change now after the war in Gaza, seeing the Democratic response to the war, like versus the support they've gotten from the right. But yes, 80% of Jews are on the left. What the problem I have typically with the Kiruv movement, or Chabad calls it shlichut, is that they change the way people behave, but they don't help them change the way they think. So orthodoxy now is becoming more left-wing. in Orthodoxy, we have a yeshiva called YCT. It's called Yeshiva Chavevei Torah. It's founded by Avi Weiss and the Open Orthodoxy
I've
movement.
heard of it.
And it also, in some way, aligns with the renewal movement. That they're Jews who are, in terms of orthoprax, I mean, they keep mitzvahs how they should keep mitzvahs, but they sort of incorporate left-leaning ideas into their orthodoxy. So there's a...
Okay, and that's why?
I'm sorry?
Why is that bad?
Because a lot of these ideas, in my opinion, contradict the Torah. For example, there's an organization called Keshet that's part of this open orthodoxy movement. That is, it's essentially an endorsement of the GAY lifestyle with the kippah, keeping kosher and Shabbos and all that stuff. I'm not saying that these people, we shouldn't show compassion towards these people and be understanding, but to in some way say that Judaism is okay with it, right? Or that Judaism is okay with gender affirming care. I mean, for example, I think they said I think
Gender
Avi Weiss.
dysphoria.
I'm sorry?
Gender dysphoria.
Yeah. So it's things like this that are creeping into Orthodoxy when it was never a thing. I mean, Orthodoxy, in terms of values, typically their values aligned with the average evangelical Christian, with how they view the Bible.
I'm confused.
Right.
Wasn't it Talmud that defined seven different genders and how those genders need to be viewed by Jewish society and who they were allowed to marry?
Okay. It depends how you think the Talmud defines the term gender. It doesn't define it as a fluid term, which is what modernity identifies as that. We were talking about nekeva, androgynous, tum, zachor, right? These aren't fluid states. So like an androgynous is someone who has two of the sexes, but only one of them work, right? A tum is someone who has these organs hidden under a piece of flesh, so no one really knows what that person is. But these aren't fluid states, which is essentially what modernity says gender is. So this is why
You're talking about gender expression. I'm talking about...
Well, this sounds like Kabbalah.
physical.
I'm sorry, say it again. No,
Robert.
I have YouTube open here, so people are talking. Yeah, but go ahead, say it again.
Oh, well, no, I'm just... This particular topic tends to get very fluid, pun intended, because of the nature of the topic, and that, are we talking about biological sex? Are we talking about socialized gender? Are we talking about sexuality and sexual expression and gender expression, etc.? But from what I understood, like I said, I know nothing. I'm Baal Tshuva. I understood that Talmud defined those, I want to say it's biological sex specifically, and there's 7 of them total, and that was like over 1,000 years ago.
Yeah,
so
no, that's fine.
I'm kind of ahead of that game.
Yeah, no,
Rabbi Asher, this sounds like the like a Kabbalah thing.
No, it's not a Kabbalah thing. I mean, the Talmud is a legal book.
Wow,
You know,
first time I hear this.
I mean, it's dealing with laws on how do you like run a nation. You know, so there has to be a way to determine
Like
certain
who
genders.
marries who?
Yeah, there has to be a certain way to determine certain genders. Not everyone was just born male and female ever in Jewish history. I mean, some people had both organs. I mean, how is that person identified? It appears in the Rambam. Androgynous in the Rambam, a tum. It's all in halakha. People don't talk about it unless when
androgynous. Wait, androgynous and tum are just physiological things.
Yeah.
Like for example, the tum is the one that doesn't have any organ, and the androgynous is the one that has both. So how is going to be treated under the halacha? That's what the rabbis are doing. They are not dealing if he has rights or not. No, they're just dealing on how this person is going to be treated under halacha.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Well,
And also,
but that's not a small sentence. That's a big sentence, because as I'm sure you know, and the Talmud already knew, whatever happens to us in our body happens to us in our mind, our heart, and our soul. And whatever happens in this world also happens above. So if something's going on with your body and Hashem decided that you should be born intersex, or you should be born tumtum, or whatever it may be, that's also going to affect not only your physiology, but your neurology.
Right, but that is totally different than what the Talmud is dealing is just with biological issues. Like the Talmud doesn't treat cases where the person is the one that is deciding how to identify.
Correct.
It's just a biological thing. Like it was born like that. The person was born with two sexual organs, or was born without organs. It's not that the person decided later to remove his organs. So that's not what the Talmud is treating.
Right. I'm not saying that it is.
Oh, okay.
That's not what I'm saying. That might be what you heard. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the Talmud is awesome and understood this a very, very long time ago already.
Yeah.
And that just gives me another reason why we're awesome, because we're Jewish. What I'm saying is, since we already understood, and Talmud demonstrates, we already understood this is a thing that's real and it happens all the time. And we need to have laws around it so that we can maintain a realistic, balanced society. The Talmud was also, the sages were also smart enough to understand that what happens in your body also affects your mind, heart, and soul. And that they can't put in the law, a law for every possible situation, but you can't also create laws on who should marry who and not acknowledge that it's going to impact people's relationships, their family dynamics, their shalom bayit, and all of the emotionality that goes into creating a society. It's not just the body. It will impact and ripple onto every other layer of everything we do. So my point is that we are awesome insofar as the Talmud already understood that in a very long time ago. And so I guess I'm just curious, why is it then that knowing that such biological differences can be created, there wasn't ever any kind of understanding that the wiring of your brain can also be different?
Oh, okay. All right, so this is more like of, if not this, why not that? Or if this, why not that? I mean,
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You're saying that
I
it
don't
should
know what I'm
expand their
talking
thinking.
about.
That's fine. I mean, I can entertain that idea. I mean, I wouldn't call it part of Judaism or say that Judaism endorses that, because it never has in the past. See, that's the problem I have with someone introducing new concepts and calling them Judaism or an extension of Judaism, even though the vast majority of Jews support it, by the way, right? The vast majority of Jews aren't religious, but and it's true. What the vast majority of Jews do actually speaks for Judaism, unfortunately. I mean, it really should be what the Torah teaches. But there are Buddhist Jews.
Yeah, can I ask a question on that?
Yeah,
isn't the scholar's job to talk about it? Don't you take the scholars' way?
So yes and no.
Scholars, the rabbis.
So the rabbis nowadays, unfortunately, have no real authority to change any part of Jewish law for everybody. That authority died with the Sanhedrin.
Don't change it. They take the old. You take the traditional Jewish concept. You don't use a. You don't put in a new concept, if you know what I'm saying. Like, you don't change the religion because of homosexuals. You know?
Yeah.
You mean
You know
we
what I'm
don't
saying?
add to halacha? Is that what you mean?
What?
Oh,
Are you saying like we're not supposed to add to Torah and we're not supposed to add to halacha?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I'm saying
you
that.
shouldn't change.
Yeah, so I don't think we're arguing about adding to halacha. We're just trying to expand people's understanding and being, for people to be more, like compassionate towards people who may have a harder time in life than the average Jewish person. In terms of halacha, speaking for all Jewish people, that only could have been done by the men of the Sanhedrin. This is why the Talmud is so important to us, because they had the authority to add things and take away things. Now, like, we could only debate on how modern day issues could apply to the Talmud. So this is why.
Ooh, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I have a big question. Do you believe, since Torah is eternal, do you believe that there are parts of Torah that now that we're getting close to the time of Mashiach, B'ezrat Hashem, that there's parts of Torah that we are now collectively, as all the Jews of the world, are starting to have the capacity to understand that maybe we, as all of us Jews 2,000 years ago, didn't have the capacity to understand. So there's more insight now, and we get to grasp more.
So I'll tell you, the vast majority of Jews disagree with that concept. I like the idea. There's a concept called Yeridat Hadorot. which is the typical Orthodox response that the farther you are from Sinai, the more disconnected you are from Sinai, which is why like a rabbi like Rashi, just because he's closer to Sinai, he's on a higher level. I don't believe that. It doesn't appear in the Talmud like this, but it's a belief that most people have. I think that because of technology, heck, we have the Torah in our fingertips. Back then, every large community, right? What distinguished a large community from a small one is that they had one copy of the Talmud, handwritten, right? Like now, in a cell phone, like you could walk around with the whole Jewish library in your hands. Like you have shiurim classes online that you can listen to all day. I don't know why someone can't say that we can't be miracle. Yeah, that we can't be smarter and more in tune now than they were back then, right? I mean, I'm like people listen to Torah classes all day. There's Jewish communities you could go from class to class to class. So this is why I agree with you that I think that we have the ability to connect more now than they ever did in the past. But that's apart from what most people believe.
All right, I have to go do more Shabbat stuff. So I will see y'all later. Shabbat shalom.
Okay, Shabbos. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Okay. All right. Who's still here? Hello.
Did you catch the interview yesterday with Dr. Phil and Netanyahu?
No. What happened?
Dr. Phil flew to Jerusalem and had a 1-hour one-on-one with Netanyahu. It was very interesting.
Oh, yeah? I know Dr. Phil is very pro.
Yes, he is.
Uh-huh.
And,
talking about Shmuley Boteach, like he also came from Oprah Winfrey.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
And he, so Netanyahu pretty much said, we're going into Rafah. We're going to do what we got to do. And
you never notice that Israelis always have this deep voice, and I think it's fake. I mean, I think they train themselves to talk. So the reason I bring it up is because Netanyahu has this like Luther Vandross voice, like in this little Jewish portal. Like you see these Israelis, they weigh like 50 pounds. They're wearing the tight clothes. They're called like artzim, right? We see them on Ben Yehuda, and they have this deep voice, but it's not natural. I think you can train your voice.
Say it right, Rabbi. Say it right. Ars.
Artzim. No, it's artzim.
Ars,
whatever. With the sequins, they got the shirts and like the tight pants. I always said that in Israel, they only make two types of clothing. Women's clothing and bigger women's clothing. Because when I lived there, I had to have all my clothes, shipped in from America because they just don't fit. They just to wear, if you wear a large in Israel, you have to buy like a triple extra large, right? And the pants go up to your waist and they'll have some sort of tear.
There's not a lot of obese people there either, right?
Obese, right. Well, in the religious world there is.
Well, yeah.
But not in the secular world. Yeah, because they eat just seeds all day, There's a trail of seeds. Or seed shells.
And guess what? I think Israel is in the semifinals in Eurovision.
Oh.
You know what's sad? She was up there singing and they were booing her for no reason. Man, sad.
What are you going to do? Welcome, Cedars of Lebanon.
Hi, we spoke last week for a bit.
Yes, I remember.
How are you doing?
You're the former Lubavitcher.
I grew up modern Orthodox, and I went to Chabad yeshivas mostly. So, but that also means that I went to modern Orthodox yeshiva because basically half English, half Hebrew. So I don't know what I am. I guess I am slightly Lubavitch.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in LA.
Oh, that's right.
West Hollywood. So I went to Shalhevet and I went to Maimonides for school in LA.
All right. I don't know much about the community.
Is that Lubavitch?
I'm from South Florida. I'm from Hollywood, Florida.
Hollywood, so you don't know the schools in LA?
No.
Okay, and you're living in Florida now still?
Yes, Hollywood, Florida.
Got you. Okay, got you. Yeah. I was just wanted to know. I was waiting to see if you guys were in the middle of that discussion, but I really couldn't tell what you were talking about. So you kind of believe that you would be happy if everyone in the world was Jewish?
Well, no.
Like, you think that
ethically Jewish?
Okay.
Like, yes, I mean that they convert to, being Jewish stam like doesn't make you any better than anyone else. Okay, if someone tells me they're Jewish, it tells me nothing about their values. Now, if someone says that they keep mitzvahs, i.e., translated to, everyone else, is that they struggle against their nature. They want to steal, but they don't. Right? They want to mistreat their neighbor, but they don't. Right? That's what I want to hear. If the average person challenged their nature, individual moral training from that perspective, wouldn't you wish everybody did that?
I take a lot of issue with what you're saying, because, and I think that if I would have to place it, and I'm not in your mind or in your shoes, but I think that you yourself would probably agree with that, think that way theoretically, but know that practically it's not the case, because even within the sects of Orthodox Judaism today, not considering, let's just say, Reform and Conservative, which you probably don't consider much of anything at all, which is fine. I think most of the Orthodox, but let's just say, just within the sects of the Orthodox world, things are so diverse and so divergent in perspective and philosophy. You might be able to break it down to like 3 or 4 philosophies. Maybe you could say there's modern Orthodoxy, which is based in the Musar movement and Soloveitchik, and you could say maybe there's the Hasidic Baal Shem Tov movement, and then there's this Litvisher, and then there's maybe what's his name, the Reb Kook and Kahanis. But it's like they're all so divergent that here you are saying like, oh, wouldn't you like everyone not to steal or whatever? But Judaism is so much more than that, and so much more divisive in a certain way, that I don't think you can say blankly, oh, people are going to subscribe to this and they're all going to ... Right. There might be a general baseline, but it's I've seen, just watching you on this show that you have, you're arguing with Orthodox Jews the whole time, which means that you yourself
that's true.
Don't see eye to eye with what you think everyone should be.
Yeah, but although they'll all acknowledge that if they're Orthodox, that we all have midos in common, like character traits. Even though I may argue with Orthodox Jews on encouraging other people to become Jewish, I'm pretty sure they would acknowledge that they're better for keeping Torah than if they didn't, right? They're not going to deny the source is life-changing. What we argue is, should we encourage other people to do it? You can say that about
Christians. You can say that about Christians.
Correct,
Christians have most of the midot of Torah actually extend into very nice Christian people and families who maybe in a lot of their communities have better dynamics than in the Orthodox Jewish community. Yeah.
So I try to makarov Christians also for selfish reasons. I think, and we're seeing it now, that conservative Christians, many of them are turning their back on Israel. I believe that although it's better to be a Christian than it is to be an atheist, eventually if they're Christian, their philosophy will end up catching up with them. This is why the reason I try to bring them to Judaism and Torah observance is because I know they're eventually going to drop it. But we see this with Martin Luther.
They're eventually going to drop Christianity?
Yes. But we see this with Martin Luther.
But you do believe that Christianity has the basic morals,
yes,
that are brought in the Torah.
But yes,
if they stay somewhat religious,
yes,
basically.
Yes. However, the chances of their philosophy catching up with them, like it caught up with, let's say, Martin Luther, who first was very lovey-dovey with the Jews and then he turned their back on the Jews, is something that my kids will have to pay the price for. It benefits me for selfish reasons to make everybody my same value system than to say, you know what, it's better like if you just remain Christian. Because I'll say that it's better for a secular Jew to become a Christian than remain atheist, let's say. Okay, because then I'm going to have more in common.
You could say that about Orthodox Jews. Orthodox Jews also drop religion left and right.
No, correct. I'm just saying that I trust an Orthodox Jew remaining ethical longer than someone who doesn't derive his law from a code. The average Christian says they're ethical because they emulate Jesus, but they don't have standards for dating. They don't have standards for prayer. They don't have standards for dress. I mean, some people go to church in shorts, right? While Judaism has that covered, it's safer for me trying to lead this world a little better than I found it to package what I believe and what I practice and hand it over to them, which is essentially the foundation of their religion anyways. Judaism is the foundation of their religion, whether they acknowledge it or not. So for selfish reasons, I want people to become Jewish because I believe, not again, just becoming Jewish, but Torah mitzvahs, that Torah has the ability to change all men, not just some men, right? Exceptions aside. And this is why. But yes, I mean, you could be ethical as a Christian. I think that you could be more consistently ethical as a Jew.
Don't you, again, like within Orthodox Judaism, like you look at a modern Orthodox Jew and that person, whether man or woman, and you look at a Haredi Hasidic Jew, like that's
it's the same.
They're very far away from each other.
Not in midot, they're not.
In practicality.
Yeah, but not in midot.
Huh?
Not in midot. I mean, not in
Yes,
character
yes,
traits.
in midot, because in a modern Orthodox shul, the girls are also kind of modeling and really dolled up and maybe wearing mini skirts.
Oh, but that's not
shul.
midot. Okay, wait a minute. I mean, if a girl, in a
You
modern,
said you-
so modern Orthodoxy is not girls in mini skirts typically, right? I mean, the debate is typically. You remember, like when my daughter was in Beis Yaakov, they used to like fine us money when she wore nail polish, right? I mean, that's the dividing line between modern Orthodoxy and a more Haredi style Orthodoxy. I mean, it's not. I don't know, with spaghetti straps and mini skirts. That's not like.
Did you say fine you money?
Yeah, no, they charge you money like in Haredi schools, like if your daughter shows up with nail polish.
What?
Yeah, this is a thing. It's a thing.
Yeah, the kanas. It's called a kanas.
Yeah.
A summons?
Yeah, so that's a dividing line. I mean, young Israel is typically what I think of when I think of modern Orthodoxy, right? And okay, you'll get girls who will have sleeves that are not quarter length. I mean, that's the extent. There may be a skirt that's above the knee. But I wouldn't say that's a midos issue. From that perspective, I don't think there's anything sexual from that perspective. It's so, or a woman that doesn't cover her hair or covers it a tefach or something. It's not, like mistreating people because the color of their skin or stealing from people, right? I mean, everyone in yeshiva has known that whenever you lose something in yeshiva, I mean, someone's going to take it and put a pin on it, right? Like on the bulletin board to make sure that everybody knows that there was a lost object. Right, they go out of their way to do things so they're so medactic, like on every little thing, and I think that makes the world a better place.
Well, give me one moment. I don't know if someone else is on the line. I just need to go first. I would like to continue the conversation in half a minute.
No problem. So that's how it is, Alon. What's going on?
Not much. What's
Okay,
happening in Hollywood, Florida?
It's extremely hot down here. Oh my
Really?
God.
It's starting already?
It's horrible. It's horrible. This is when the New Yorkers regret coming to Florida.
No,
think it was all nice
there's
and
one
fun
thing that's
together.
great I hear. My brother was suffering from really bad allergies, and when he went out to Florida, he says, all gone. It's weird.
Really? No, it is weird. No, because we don't have seasons. Like you figure it's pollen season all year round. But
And then, I don't know.
I guess it's a Russian thing. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Anyways,
When you going to Israel again?
Sukkot. I'll be there for
Sukkot.
Sukkot. I mean, people don't know that I was in Israel. October 7th, I was in Israel. You believe that? I mean, I came October 6th, and they screwed up my freaking vacation. These guys. I was when I just said I was so stoned on October 7th. I went to this rabbi's house Nebuch, he's dying of cancer. And then, he made cookies and he's like, hey, give it a try, like edibles.
Oh my God.
And I ate just a little piece and I was walking from Nachlaot, like the French Hill, halfway there. I started walking in the street. I never, ever, ever
I know what you mean.
Never.
We had the same scenario. It was a power punch. It was a
a
small
power
chocolate.
punch. No, these cookies were cancer grade. I mean, cancer grade. Three or more. It must have been like 300
Wait a
milligrams.
minute. You had a whole cookie?
No, I ate half a cookie. Anyways, I mean, Nebuch, on October 7th, when we were being unalived, I was walking home super high. You know, yeah, but I heard the sirens, by the way. Like the sirens in Yerushalayim are the same ones they use for Shabbos, you know, when they institute Shabbos, are the same ones, you know, for when there's a Pagua or whatever. You know, and that was my trip to Israel. And that was the second day, and I spent another 2 weeks with everything being closed and having to...
Right. Wow. Well, how long were you high for?
Oh, man, it was so weird. I was on the phone at 10 o'clock at night, your Motzei Shabbos, and the phone was off. And I was just talking on the phone. I mean, I never, ever, you know.
We did it also during a poker game. One guy said he went to space. He was out there. The other guy was high for 3 days.
Well, I'll tell you,
personally was I just
the rabbi's name is Pesach Davis. I mean, everybody knows this guy from the Old City. I mean, he's not in the Old City anymore. He was called like the Rambo Rebbe. I mean, he was the personal bodyguard of Rabbi Meir Kahana back in the day, and he was this guy who cuts the challah with the Rambo knife. Pesach Davis, I'm sure people know. He was like a Rosh Hashiva of like some yeshiva in Beit El. But shout out to him. You know, I mean, Refuah Shlema.
Wow,
but yeah,
so they have medicinal.
Yeah, it's weird. You know, I was. I mean, once I don't know. I mean, I was in Harvard. I just put up a video.
Oh yeah, I did see that. When was this?
Yeah, like it was Monday. Like I went to Harvard. I mean, I was in Boston with I mean some people there, and I'm thinking I'm here. I might as well check out one of these encampments. Well, so I went to Harvard, and I went to the famous Harvard Yard, right? I mean, what's that famous statement? Park the car in Harvard Yard. I mean, Harvard Yard, you can't park a car in it. It's inside. It's like a little compound at Harvard, and they were checking everyone's ID. You know, and I'm not a student, so I mean, I filmed it from the outside, like the little encampment there. What was I going to say there? Oh, because I stopped by a dispensary and I got some drops because you know, it's Massachusetts, it's legal there. That being said,
so what'd you get at? What'd you see? I mean, I saw you zooming in towards the tents. But...
Yeah, no, nothing. I just saw them there in the tents doing their thing. What I should have went to was MIT. I mean, I heard it was pretty wild there, but I mean, I forgot that was in Boston.
Oh yeah.
Boston,
and then I found out during the Dr. Phil and Netanyahu interview that Netanyahu went to MIT.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's his claim to fame. And his brother being unalive during the raid of Antalya.
And they spoke about that as well too. It was pretty cool. You should. It's on YouTube. It's an hour-long interview.
I mean, it almost makes you forget that he was caught for corruption many times in Israel. I think he was the governor of Hebron, or... I
mean, listen, even Rabbi Pinto got caught and spent a year in jail.
You mentioned this Rabbi Pinto guy. I never knew that he was such a big guy. I mean, he's
a big guy. You've seen LeBron James holding his hand.
Really?
What?
No, I didn't know.
LeBron James is going to him for advice.
Yeah, but all his classes are in Hebrew.
When he was in Miami playing for the Heat, he brought Pinto into his one of his yachts and asked him for whatever. And recently, in one of the events in Los Angeles, just Google Pinto and LeBron James, and you'll see it. It's all over.
And you can imagine the size of that donation. I mean, forget about it.
You know, a few years ago, he bought the first. There's a building in Manhattan, which is it's the first public library in New York City, and he bought it. It's a building that you can't modify because it's historical. Do you know what that bill was for? He bought it for $35 million.
Who, Rabbi Pinto?
Yeah, his organization.
What, he's Syrian or what? Where's he from?
Yeah, no, Morocco maybe, I think. I'm not sure.
He's Moroccan.
He's Moroccan, yeah, okay. But he's big. He's big.
Yeah, I guess we don't roll in the same circles.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cedars, what's up?
Yeah, so did you say you were in Israel on October 7th?
October 7th, I was in Israel. You believe that? I mean, I came October
was too.
6th. I arrived October 6th. I mean, it was in the middle of Sukkot. Yeah, and I left 2 weeks later.
2 weeks?
2 weeks later, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, they wouldn't let it. And even now, only El Al, I think, is open, right?
Oh, I hope not.
I think so. I have a friend coming next week.
Oh, now because of the war. Yeah, well, yeah, now it's.
Yeah.
Back then, the rockets weren't hitting Yerushalayim. I think there was like one that hit near like Petah Tikva. Not Petah Tikva. What's by Chizmeh. I don't know what area. I mean,
So let's get clear over here.
Yeah.
You believe that the world would be a better place if people converted to Judaism because Judaism would be the strongest moral structure that they would have to stick by.
MashaAllah.
Essentially.
Our biggest problems in religiosity are offshoots. That's our biggest issue. But as much as I love Christians and I like ethical Muslims, it always boils down to they think I'm going to hell. Okay? And at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, I don't know if they're really going to be on our side. So from a selfish perspective, if I could replace their misguided pursuits of religiosity with what's essentially their source, which is the Torah, it'll be better for me. It'll be better for my children. It'll be better for everybody. There'll be more kosher food. There'll be more women to date. All of the above. Yeah.
Well, how about from a non-selfish perspective? Because it's kind of far out what you're saying. Like, I want to, in other words, from a more objective perspective of the way that you think God, who influences the world and created the world, like actually wants it to be, and why he made Jews such a small population and non-Jews such a grand population.
Now that's a Lubavitcher
Like,
approach,
do you
by
have
the way.
more of a
With the Lubavitcher approach, the Lubavitcher approach is that, you know, everyone is made with a specific purpose. If you're a Jew, you should be a proud Jew. If you're a Goy, you should be a proud Goy. This is only Lubavitch talks like this. This idea, from a Torah perspective, I think God wants everybody to accept the Torah. Don't forget the Erev Rav, the mixed multitude. They were there in Har Sinai, and God was telling them, choose life, choose Torah. The idea that God only wants a certain segment to accept Torah, and the other segment, I mean, suffer via the consequences of their actions, because most of our problems in life are self-induced. Probably 90% of them. Okay, perhaps if we honored our parents, perhaps if we, I don't know, like rested one day a week. The individual moral training in the Torah benefits every lifestyle, every person out there. Well, whatever. I mean, give or take. I'm pretty sure.
I think the basic things benefit everyone out there, but not the more like the. I think maybe say we have, what is it? Edut, chukim, and mishpatim. Mm-hmm. So I think the edut, no, the mishpatim, the laws, like the general laws, are effective for everybody, but like edut and chukim are not, even for us. It's not necessarily to be actual benefit. It's just a chuk. It's just something that was, you know, like, I don't know, putting on tefillin or paraduma or sprinkling this or slaughtering that. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily beneficial on a grand world level.
I agree with you. However, the problem I have with that is that the same God who uttered ethical laws is the same God who uttered ceremonial laws, and he made no distinction. It's true. A hook, I mean, like putting on tefillin, even keeping Shabbos, keeping kashrus, what does that do? What does that have to do with ethical behavior? Nothing. I mean, it may be standards of holiness from some spiritual perspective. However, the same God who said, you know, like honor your parents, kivud avayim, is the same God. I mean, who said, don't wear shatnez, right? So then, by us making a distinction, like I'm going to keep these laws but toss those away, is us creating God for ourselves. So this is why I will tolerate the irrational mitzvot because of the ethical ones. And I would say that possibly the irrational ones are there to guard the ethical ones. To some extent, probably by filling up your free time.
But I think, and again, you might say this is Lubavitch, but which I don't know. I'm not coming from I'm coming from a logical standpoint. Maybe I'm very influenced by Lubavitch, so that's why it sounds like it. But I just think that the non-Jews do not have any. They actually could be close to God and don't have consequences to their action if they keep the general mishpatim, and that the Jews who convert to Judaism are the ones who want to use Judaism as a path towards holiness. But there are other paths towards holiness. Maybe you could say meditation. Maybe you could say certain asceticism, certain like living with truth, living with ethical values that a lot of Goyim do, whether they're Christians, whether they're Muslims, whether they're, I don't know, just general God believers. I read a statistic maybe a couple of years ago. I don't know if it still applies. I think I remember reading this in an article that like they asked about people's belief in God has gone up, but their connection to a religion has gone down. And I found that very interesting. In other words, in the mass populace or whatever consensus it was they were using, is that they were asking people, you know, do you believe in God? This I think was in the maybe 2010s or something. And like more people were starting to believe in God, less people believing in God through religion necessarily, or believing in the God of a religion. And I thought that was interesting. And I actually ask a lot of people lately, non-Jews, that a lot of them believe in a certain, like it's undeniable that there's a certain path, a certain essence of the world, like the pseudo-spiritual culture is getting very, very massive, especially through TikTok and through kind of the combination of Buddhist and enlightened thought. But it's not necessarily the God of a religion. Okay. But I think that's a very strong guidance, and there's a truth there.
No, I understand what you're saying. However, this is a religious show. I'm trying to speak from a Torah perspective. The Torah does not give you these other options. The Torah didn't even mention the Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach as an option. The Torah only has one standard. Only one standard. Right? In order to please God, according to the Torah, you have to keep his mitzvot. This notion of what if we just kind of split them in half, the ceremonial laws for Gentiles, and we keep everything, that's all fine and dandy, but how are you going to convince a Gentile of that? You know, and mind you, there are Gentiles who were convinced of the Noahide laws when the Noahide laws were essentially, you know, invented by the rabbis.
Then why did God do a mass revelation only on Mount Sinai, only for a certain amount of people? Why couldn't the skies just open up and the whole world heard? Not only a multi-ethnic or multiple of people, the whole world heard God speak.
So I think that on Mount Sinai, there was a representation of the whole world. The mixed multitude, and the rabbis in the Talmud are unanimous that there were more of them than they were of the Hebrews. And a few chapters later,
maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. I think maybe then, because we see the world today spread out already all over the globe. Maybe 4,000 years ago, it all started from that pinpoint, right?
Yeah, no, but it's our job to lead the world. I don't believe in the whole notion of like Or Lagoyim, you know, but I believe in the idea of being a Mamlechet Kohanim, like actually leading the world. That doesn't mean that we intercede for them.
Then you're opening up a big can of worms here, because then you're then you got what you got today.
What's that?
You know, different. You know, why not the whole world knowing it came from the horse's mouth? You know, from God, and take it from there instead of us.
No, us
being the intermediate person.
What makes us special is that we're repeating what the Torah says. We're bringing them people back to the Torah, right? It doesn't compare public. You're like the children of, where do you live? You're like in the ghetto. It's like a anyway.
That's me.
Oh, Rosado.
That's in New York. I live in the ghetto.
We're Washington Heights, right?
No, the Bronx.
Oh, that's right. Never mind. I was thinking one Dominican place to a Puerto Rican place. Okay, yeah. It says in Perkabot to be like the sons of Aaron. It says, I think, Kolabrios, like bring all of creation to Torah. Right? I mean, it's a thing. It's a thing. Whatever that may mean. Some will say.
It doesn't say that. But you're twisting that. You're twisting that Mishnah. It says.
It says what?
It says. Hayim talmidav shel Aaron, oyev shalom, v'roidev shalom, mekarvin es habrius.
Yeah, that's exactly what it says. You know, be like the students of Aaron. right?
Yeah.
Like chase the truth, and Makarv, like to bring all of creation to Torah.
It doesn't say to Torah though. It just says bring them close. It could bring. In my opinion, it means bring them close to you. Like make a good connection.
Oh
with
wait.
people.
I'm pretty sure it says
would have
Torah.
said Makarv.
What mission
No.
is that?
It's in Pirkei Avot. It's Havei Talmida Shel Aaron Oyev Shalom Verodef Shalom.
Let's go back to the videotape.
Let's see.
I don't remember it saying that. Maybe I'm wrong. Check it out.
Yeah, it says Torah.
You heard it here.
Say what's
Hold on
the
one second. Hold on. Let me pull it up. It's in Safaria.
Doesn't say it definitely doesn't say Mekarvin et Habriot LeTorah. Definitely does not say that.
Okay. Okay. Torah. Etabrias Karvu LaTorah. I mean, yeah.
It would make sense. It would make sense that it would say that.
Right. It says Karvan LaTorah.
Okay, so you're saying that Briot means
like all of humanity,
like
and drawing them close
all
to Torah.
All of humanity and bring them to Torah.
Yeah.
And you reject that means.
No, reject. I'm just telling you, like, it means what it means. You know, like if you want to say it's their Torah, I mean, some people say this is their Torah, which is a Sheva Mitzvah B'nai Noach, is a stretch because it says all humanity, which would include Jews also.
All right. I mean, I would like to see the commentary. I don't know if you trust it.
Well, I'm just telling you what it says.
You guys are reading way into it.
No,
it says Torah.
I mean, because a lot of times Briot could just mean that it's people who are
and it says
secular.
Love.
Like
it says Lochevet Briot Karvan LaTorah. You know, love humanity and draw them close to Torah. You know, so I mean, it means what it means. I mean,
I don't know what other commentary you want on that. It's straightforward, simply Hebrew.
No, there are commentaries to it. There's some people who say that it's their Torah because in the Gemara,
does it mean?
I mean, it says that a goy who keeps his Torah, like he's like the Kohen Gadol, right? You know, and then it expounds what's his Torah. Like, it means the Sheva Mitzvah, or not necessarily the Sheva Mitzvah.
Well, Torah means instructions, right?
Right, but here it just doesn't
maybe their instructions. Who knows?
Well, anyways,
the problem with that is the Gemara also says goy shelimud Torah chayav misa, goy sheshabes chayav misa, right? The goyim which learn Torah.
You kind of butchered that one. It doesn't say limud. I mean, it says osek. It says goy osek Torah chayav misa. Yeah, so osek.
Exactly.
I mean, some people teach it's not like limud, like learn. It means that they learn Torah all day long on their own, right? Because first of all, I mean, you can't convert to Judaism unless you learn some Torah, clearly. You know, so the understanding is that people who learn on their own, right, shouldn't be allowed, you know, because no one's ever put to death for it, you know, but shouldn't be allowed to do it because they come up with their own ideas. So they should learn under the auspices of someone who's teaching them. Right, and you know, like Akun Shabbat Mita also doesn't mean that a goy can't keep Shabbos. It means that he can't keep it like a goy keeps it. He has to keep it like a Jew keeps it. This is how the Rambam teaches it. So, anyways.
In other words, the person has to be on his way to conversion and be a part of a Jewish community on some level to be able to do these things in the right way.
Essentially. Yeah. I mean, they do it under the right auspices, not someone claiming to be like the new Jewish people and replacing us.
I mean, there's plenty of people on TikTok that you see that are like use Kabbalah and they've never been to a synagogue in their life, but they're like steeped into Kabbalah and like teaching like.
Have you ever been to the Kabbalah Center? I mean, it's big in LA.
Jewish mystical things. Yeah, I've been to the Kabbalah Center for sure. Kabbalah Center's interesting because the Kabbalah Center is mostly like Israelis that needed a job and they're able to like teach, you know, some basic Kabbalah.
It was founded by this guy, Rabbi Berg. That was an American guy. He was like Madonna's Rebbe.
Yeah. His wife was Israeli. His wife was Karen. She was like the real businesswoman of it all. And he was a guy who was who was a good teacher and pretty interested in Kabbalah. I mean, they're really not that far off in at least in the way they teach Kabbalah, they kind of hide certain things, especially when it comes to the differences between Jews and non-Jews, which you don't hold so much anyway, so you might
You mean
really
like the
be on
Tanya?
there.
And they don't teach like, but they don't darshan the Tanya
They don't-
like in the Kabbalah Center.
They're not teaching too much Tanya, no. They do, I'm sure, teach about Shalosh Klipot Tameot and all these things, but I don't think they just make much of a distinction between, Jewish souls and non-Jewish souls. I've read quite a few of their works. It actually basically feels like the way they translate Hasidus, like in there's like a series called Hasidic Heritage Series, which has like Maimarim and commentary. It's very, very similar, like the rhetoric of the English Kabbalah Center books and those books, like very similar.
So, are you on board with that? Your neighbor? Hey, look. Would you say that you have more in common with the average atheist than you do with the average Orthodox Jew?
No, but I would say I have more in common with the average, God believer than Orthodox Jew philosophically, because a non-Jew who's inquisitive and understood that there is one God, and he's like an essence of the universe. He's like a form of the essence of everything, and everything's kind of an expression in its own way. I'm much more on board on that philosophically than I am with a lot of the dogmatic Orthodox Jewry, which doesn't really see past, the yeses and nos of Yiddishkeit.
Right, but you don't identify as Orthodox either, right?
Excuse me?
You don't currently identify as Orthodox either, right?
I do. I am an Orthodox Jew. Okay. I currently identify as Orthodox. But I would say that I believe I'm Orthodox, and I've said this to many Jews and non-Jews, because I believe very strongly in Hashgacha Pratis, which is what divine
intervention.
Divine intervention, or basically that everything in life is for a reason, and it's God's way of speaking to you, essentially. So I believe that Orthodox Judaism is my path because that's how I was raised, and I do believe it as a true path, but I don't believe it as the only path to truth. But I believe that uniquely to my circumstances and how I was raised and what I was shown in this life, that's part of my path. And that's why I am it, and I do it, and I'm committed to it on, not to the fullest extent of Haredeism, but the general, like a general compass for sure.
Would you like,
so therefore
would you like the inhabitants of Gaza tomorrow to embrace Judaism, like, or remain Muslim?
You asked me that, and I told you I said I'd rather than pour pamphlets of Judaism, I'd rather you pour mushrooms, because I would rather them be enlightened. That's what I really believe. All
right, if that's not an option,
is meant to be enlightened.
Okay. All right. So, would you prefer for them to be? Okay. Yeah. So we're dealing with reality here. I'm religious people who belong to some monotheistic.
But that's way farther from reality for them to convert to Judaism.
They'd rather die. Asher, I don't believe you understand where they stand. They're not like American Christians here, where you could easily convert them or do whatever. You really don't understand the culture.
No, I understand the culture. I'm not.
Then mentioning even telling a Muslim, a hardcore Muslim, would you consider, or did you know, or would you consider, converting to Judaism? I think sometimes you don't understand the amount of hatred that's in there. Hello, Junior.
Here, say something. Teach them something from school.
Shalom Aleichem.
All right. Tell us about the Rebbe.
His birthday was like a month ago.
Oh, the Rebbe's birthday.
Nice. There's a true tzaddik over here.
You know, my son goes to Lubavitch.
Yes.
He's
Yud
like,
Aleph Nisan. Yud Aleph Nisan, and right now it's what? Tet Vav? I'm sorry.
Yud Aleph
Chet Nisan, right? Or, what is
I
it?
met the Rebbe a few times actually.
It's your all base. The month.
Yeah, Yud Aleph Nisan is the Rebbe's birthday, and I don't know what the date is today in Hebrew.
You give us a mimer. Yeah, mimer of the Rebbe, a sikha of the Rebbe. Go ahead, come on. Yeah. It's a yechi. No, not yechi. Yeah.
Asher, you're probably arguing all day with the parents of this kid's school, huh?
Yeah.
Or you just
No, like I don't. You know, it's funny. Like I went to this thing. Like, what was that thing that was in your school that they were singing the Nigunim of the Rebbe? It's like a whole thing. And I saw people from TikTok. There's this couple. His name is like Moishi and Sephora. And I'm like, hey, it's the guy from
yeah, the redhead.
Yeah, right, the redhead guy. And I mean, this is a very big Lubavitcher school. It's called LEC here in South Florida. And everyone, I saw the people from TikTok, and I mean, I didn't say anything, you know, because they'll probably like call the cops on me. Say, look, they let this guy in here. But I don't argue with people, bro. I mean, I do it online. Not argue. I mean, even in shul. When I go to shul, I'll never.
Why do you send them to Lubavitch? Why do you send your kids to Lubavitch?
I don't.
Just best option.
I don't. You know, my ex-wife, like, put him there. I'm a big misnagid. Like, I would never. But the court, like the judge, gave her authority to do whatever she wanted to do.
It's not the worst thing.
No, it's not the worst thing. I mean, I just wouldn't put him in that school. But it's for sure better than being in public school.
Super ultra orthodox, or what is that?
What?
The school you mentioned.
No, I mean he goes to Lubavitch.
Right. So
Lubavitch Educational Center.
What kind of school is that? Is that super orthodox or?
I mean, it's Chabad. Chabad is Chabad.
Oh, it's Chabad. Okay.
Yeah. Like my daughter went to Torah Semis and then went to Beis Yaakov. You know, so it's a more Litvish school, and it's just I consider myself Ashkenaz, like regular Ashkenaz. So I mean, I like the Kiddush. Because I go with him to Lubavitch on the weekends because I get him every other week, and they're nice.
By the way, most people who convert from Spanish-speaking countries consider themselves Sephardic, from what I see.
Yeah. Well, because most of them consider themselves Anusim or Bnei Anusim.
I'm one.
Right. Here we go. Rosario in the house. You know, like I may have Jewish blood. You know,
I have the yichus. I actually have the yichus. It goes really way back. I actually managed to trace it.
500 years. You traced 500 years of a
Yes,
journey?
I did, and it was verified by a rabbi.
All right. Okay. You know.
And I remember all the customs that my great-grandparents did.
Did
All
you
of
ever
them.
do a 23andMe?
Yes, I did. It says
Both of you, also you, Rabbi.
Yes, I did. I did Ancestry.com, and I came up like 7% Ashkenazi Jewry. You know, my family's from Spain originally, I guess. My mother's maiden name is Pinson, and there's a Chabad rabbi, Rabbi Pinson. Who knows?
Oh my God, there's so many Pinsons.
Yeah,
Pinson might be one of the names that the Baal Shem Tov said was blessed. I think it was one of them was Margolis. I don't know. I thought Pinson was one of them.
There we go.
But so rabbi, because I gotta go in a minute. I don't know. I guess that's where we disagree in your statement about Gazans. I just think it's much more practical and close for the way the world is going today to influence people to be spiritual, believe in God, not as just one God over many gods, but really what we believe in more deeply, which is that he's everything and everything is an expression. And to live with that, because I think there's a truth to that that's undeniable for everybody. So that's what I think, the kind of an enlightenment, and that will lead to certain morals and certain respect of others, and maybe an objective perspective, you know, within the debate on
Have you ever tried DMT?
Israel-Palestine. I've never done DMT. No, I've only done marijuana and mushrooms.
All right. On that note, we're going to end the show. You know, I've always wanted to say that, to be like Joe Rogan, because he asks everyone. You know, that being said, guys, have a good Shabbos. You know,
Shabbat shalom u'mevorach.
Yeah. Be well.
Good Shabbos. Good Shabbos.
All right. Thank you, Cedars, for
Yeah,
stopping
it's
by.
nice meeting you guys.
All right. Be good, bench. Bye bye.
Thanks, GR. Bye.